Okay, it's a sultry Saturday night here in south west UK, and this is the fourth of JT's guitars coming in, and this one is one I've seen before, and I changed the bridge on this and it's been changed back because JT didn't get on with the new one. But anyway, the objective today is to get this thing playing cleanly again. It's not great, so let's see what we've got in the way of neck relief. Yeah, it's official, there is some, and I would say that's about 0.3. So the action is not good at the moment, and it's not where JT would want it to be, so I'm going to set it down at the target action. These are some really nice, what do they call them, graphtech saddles that JT's added in. So that's a new component on here. So that's currently at 2, which is more than we would want. So let's take this down and see what happens. Right, these are US style. Get the little widget out. Okay, let's get this down low. 5, just over. Now, I'm going to see what we can do. So I'm aiming for a 1.5 over 2, a 1.2, or 1. One's a bit too challenging on a Telecaster in my experience. So, and from 1.5 over 2, about 1.2 by the time we get over to the treble side. It's not even sitting down on its legs. Thank you. Okay, almost there. So I'm kind of looking at both the seating of that and the actual measured height. So .2, 1 point nothing, so a tiny bit up on this one. My phone is bleeping. This one is a bit too low. Oh, shut up. The phone ringing probably. Let me just go and cancel it. Airplane. It's only because I put it right next to the radio, so it's making radio noises. Okay, so here we have the action that we're going to aim for. Okay. Quick look at what we've got going on here. A bit high on the G. Let's take a little go at these while we're at it. Again, it's black plastic, which not my favourite substance, or black graphite they might call it, but it's black plastic, whichever way you like it. So let's see what we've got here. So I'm going to want let's find out what we've got on here. Right, there's a 9s set. So on a 9 set we're going to want 48, no, we're on the top bit somewhere. We're going to go 11, 13, 17, 13, 17. Just going to concentrate on these top 3 for a minute because they look a fraction higher than the others. Well, the G is. Interesting, so the others are a little bit lower. Maybe it's 0.25 or something like that. It's a low first fret action, but it's high on the these 3, and it's also made of that disgusting graphite-y stuff, so how it's going to respond I can't remember from the first time round, but it's not by any means my favourite kind of material. Okay, we'll go with 17. Excuse me. It's incredibly warm and sultry out here, so it's kind of unusual. We haven't had weather like this for quite some time, so it's quite nice. Tropical. Problem with this graphite stuff is it's very hard to see it moving as you're cutting. It doesn't behave like bone, it doesn't powder like bone in the same sort of way, so it's very, very easy to overcut and be starting again. So I've been working it and nothing's cutting. You see, that's quite amazing. And then you kind of do it a bit more and put some pressure on it. Before you know it, you're too low. Which, if that happens right now, I'm going straight onto a bone nut. I promise you. Fraction more. Yeah, it's warm, man. 20 degrees. Right, that's where the other one is. Yeah, 20 degrees outside, which for England at this time of night, evening, is very unusual. So I'm not complaining. I'm going to do the same here with this. I'm going to open that gap up so that the strings don't get stuck anywhere in the slot. Okay. Okay. So this is all very low. Because we're starting off with a low action, and I'm just easing the string through these slots. Here we go, this time with the 11. Very fine little saw indeed. But like I say, this graphite stuff absolutely does not behave the way bone behaves. So you can seem to be cutting away at it for quite some time and it doesn't seem to do anything. Now, I'm gonna junk this for a bone nut. This is not it's not good from the outset, and it's not going anywhere in my book. Too hard to control. Sorry, with these. I know it changes the look slightly because it goes to a lighter colour, but you can't work this graphite stuff the same way you can work bone, and the result is for these sorts of clearances you end up a tiny bit over the mark, whether you like it or not. Well, it's easy to get over the mark, so I'm not happy with that. So I would be keen to remove it. Now the slight challenge with this is that it's very nicely lacquered in, so I'm going to get my zoomy glasses on and just lightly push it over there, just lightly undo the seal on there. Obviously you have to control it very carefully, like that, and then also upwards. Again, I'm sort of controlling it with my thumb more than anything else. So that's just broken the seal on the lacquer. Do the same here, coming this way. Ooh, thunder. That's very nice. And then up here. That's why it's so hot and sultry. Okay, now the challenging bit on this is, can we persuade this to come out by any means, and it's not likely to want to just fall out, that's for starters. However, it looks like it's starting to move, so I will find a little screwdriver in here that can help the process along its way. Never mind. It's not that one anyway, is it? It's not the one I want. That one isn't also the one I want. Where's the one that I want? It'd be good if we get a full-on storm going right now, wouldn't it? I reckon. Okay. Here's my little starter device. So to do this, I'm going to position and support the neck there. We have the nut moving forward, and then I can just gently ease it through with a larger thing to drift it. And I just want to be very careful that I sort of just ease it. There we go. Starting to rain? Maybe. Yeah, so graphite, schmaphite, sorry, horrible stuff. Let's see if it's just a standard one of these is going to be the right width. It sure is. And that's a flat bottomed one too, which is good. So I'm just going to gently clean out, remove a little bit of glue that's in the bottom of this slot if I can, and just make sure it's cleaned up. Got a very, very thin little piece of wood here that's between the end of the fingerboard and the headstock, so we don't in any circumstances want to put any pressure on that because we don't want it to break off. Now what did I just do with that? Let's just check the spacing. Okay, pretty good. So with that in mind, I'm going to just hang this up for a second. Ooh. I'm just going to gently thin this down. Some car alarms have gone off. And I'm just going to check this back in here and do a little bit more. I don't want it to be tight in there at all. I don't want anything pressing it in. I don't want it to stress that little extra bit of rosewood at the top there. I can just drop in tidily, which is nearly there. Come on, now he's got it perfectly dropped in. Can't get it out. Come on. Thank you. And another fraction of a mil. There we go, that should be fine. So in the spirit of playability, that's why I'm replacing this, because with the action set the way it was, the low E and A were too low really in the slot. Now here we have the new nut. Okay, looking good, looking good. Sloping backwards that way, all good. Now what I'm going to do is just dab some glue into there to seat it. New stuff, I can't remember how thick or thin this is. Let's put it on a piece of this first. Thank you. And just fit that into there like that. Don't need much. And the main thing then is just to get this placed exactly where we want it. We're just looking at the position of the strings. There's a little bit of overhang at one end here. I'm just looking at this carefully. good glue. Right, so we have a little bit of overhang, which I'll take off in a minute. And then we've got back to tall fret, so we're back to the beginning again, and I'm just going to make sure that these position where I want them to. Yep. Yes. Okay. Okay. So get that out of the way. Get this out of the way. So what I'll need is to get me a set of these whatchamacallits, you know, nut files that will do the whole set of 9s which we're going to put on. So we'll go 32, 42, 32, 42 and no, that's 24. We want 28, don't we? 28, 48 at the end of it, 28 and a 38. Have we got that? 36. That's not too bad. 36, 26, no, 26, 26, 26, 28. There must be that's going to set off loads of fire alarms, I think. Oh no, that's Claire in the kitchen. Oops, that's what you get when you cook burgers. So we're going 28, 40, 32, 30, 30, 42, 36 maybe. Where's the 42? Here comes the rain. 42, let's go for 42 and 48. Right, there's our set. And watch, it's going to really kill the sound now with the rain coming down. Okay, so I'm going to put this under load, so we've got the approximate tension. Alright, let's put this under the what's it, and this one. Really we should do the other ones too, but I won't for the ease of movement. Now that is interesting. Why is that doing that? There's no immediate reason why that's doing that. Wow, that's very odd. Now, right now, I don't know why it's doing that, but I'm going to get rid of it in a minute. So we need to cut down these saddles, nut slots again, and this is going to look like a bunch of teeth by the time we've done it, but it's vital to do it, and we can then level it out later on anyway, when the time is right. We can remove the excess material, that's what I'm saying. So just I'm making kind of notches to begin with, notches, just to get the strings seated and remove a fair bulk of the material which we haven't got to do yet, or haven't got to that point yet. That's because the slot is cut badly on that, and its string is coming up over, it's not running up the back of the nut. Right, so I'm going to go revert to 0.3, which is my preferred target, and I'm going to go with my, well, what am I going to do? I actually just want to mark them all first. That's really what I want to do. And I'll come back and work each one by one. Okay. Windmilling, no, zinging, sitaring going. Okay, so the game now is we'll work outwards from the D, and we'll cut these to the correct height, which will be the point. Yeah! Okay, which will be 0.3, and then once that's done I'll reshape the nut and take all the excess off. But meanwhile I'm going to stop and run through the rain. Okay, I've got been out in the thunder. Okay, so now we're ready to give it one more go at the very light fret leveling. Excuse me. And I want to be very, very, very careful with this, because I've done this once before. It's not that guitars can't stand several goes at it, but obviously it takes a little bit off each time, so I really want to make sure this is spot on, as I do each time, but sometimes you just don't quite get where you want to get. Now with this I'm going to use the StewMac stiffer of the truss rods again. I've had good results with that in the last few days, so I'm going to stick with it, even though it's a little bit wider and it's a little bit less respecting of this compound radius that this guitar I'm pretty certain has, if I remember correctly. Anyway, the issue is I want the stiffness of the rod, as they say in certain 1970s comedies. Yeah, I want it to hold shape as well as possible, to ensure that we get this as accurately done as possible. Obviously once I've done that, I'm going to reshape the nut and reduce down any excess material that doesn't need to be on there, which at the moment is a fair bit. We'll get rid of that with the Dremel, which of course with bone works really well. With graphite, just turns it into a sort of shaggy mush. So I can see the action here is looking really, really way low now. Just want to get this to approximate tension or pitch, just to keep the guitar under the right playing tension. bits and pieces. Bits and pieces. And here we go. Get the adjuster. Just get the adjuster. So this has got new brass nut, new bone nut, which is a change from what it had before. But I think it's an important improvement. The other one was fractionally too low and actually difficult to adjust any further because because of the material. It's a soft, spongy sort of plastic, which may well be good for you know, allowing the string to move through the slot quite well, but it isn't any good for my purposes. So okay, so on we go. Now let's just take a look what this tells us. So just looking at the sort of diagnostic aspect of it. Cutting pretty evenly all there, and missing out a little bit there, so not too bad. I'll double check it one more time in a second, but let's just play it through and see how it comes across. That's pretty good actually. I'm not going to do any more than is necessary, even if it doesn't cut those down there. I don't really care as long as it plays fine, and that's what I'm aiming for. So I'm going to recalibrate in the same place, but as if to do the next line, or the B track as I would call it, which is on for that as well. Push that to the side. So I'm trusting this shouldn't take very much at all, because we've done it before in the past, and it's only a very small amount of clearance we're dealing with here. So again, cutting pretty much everywhere except those ones there. A little bit more on there. It's I think, you know, as I've said on a few of these videos recently, there is a kind of, I don't know if you would call it law of diminishing returns, but when you get down to about the millimetre mark on the playing actions, you really, or close to the millimetre mark up here, you really can't go much further than that. Okay, and you just really, if you carry on trying, the reality is you probably just end up wasting fret metal, so you have to know when to stop, and 1.2 is pretty good. Now, funny enough, you'll find that on some guitars, like I've shown in the past on SGs, on certain SGs, because of the way the neck seems to respond to adjustment and so on, you seem to be able to get incredibly low actions incredibly quickly, or easily I should say, and without any protest. So who knows? It's, I have a theory about why, but I could be wrong. I think it's to do with the flexibility of the neck and the fact that it responds very evenly across its across its whole length, because none of the neck is, or none of the fingerboard is trapped inside the body of the guitar, either bolted to anything or glued in to a chunk of wood, you know, a very big chunk of mahogany or something like that, as on a Les Paul copy. So that's my experience of why they're so good to set up. That's good. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is actually what probably is typical of me is I'm not seeing any really unexpected things. I'm seeing that I probably didn't go far enough the first time round, and that is actually something that's typical of me. I often wimp out a little bit in favour of preserving fret metal. I sometimes stop before it's playing the way it should. So this is the they kind of follow through, I suppose you could say. make it play where it should. Now we know that on this one the low frets are a little bit buzzier, but I think this should be okay as well. A little bit there. So a little bit in the middle, around 9. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this a bit more and just focus my attention on that area there, which just means kind of sort of press it down a little bit, that's all. I mean, not hard as if to bend the whole thing, but I'm just focusing my attention on those frets there, which takes a bit more off. Okay. So if I close the door now, it's quite steamy in here, like working in the jungle. It's flattening out a little bit here. Yeah. That's interesting. It's still showing up as too curved. Okay. Quite a big adjustment between those two. Okay. This feels good, and it's cutting pretty much everything now, so it should be good and level. A few up the top there, that's all there is, so I'm just going to do that thing again, same calibration, and all I'm going to do is just focus a little bit my energy and weight on this end here. It's a kind of, I suppose some people would call it the fall away, paying attention to that end. There you go, done. A bit cheaty, I mean, making it up that bit, you know, knowing when to lean on it and knowing when not to, but it's how it works. There's no just one way to use this, but you get sort of used to how it works and how you work it. You develop your own confidence in it, and away you go. You can see how tiny the adjustments need to be. Right. And then once I've done this, it's a case of reshaping the frets, reprofiling the frets, followed by reshaping the nut and removing the excess nut material that you don't need, and then polish out, check the intonation again, double check the action and everything, and ready to go. A little bit more on this low E. this sort of action, it's really hard to get away. So what? Well, actually, that's currently too low. That's why. It's about a millimetre, just over a millimetre, which is too taxing, I'm afraid, for this thing. Let's just check these actions again. So we have 1.5, just under 1.2 is too low. See, partly that's because taking down the action at that end makes a small reduction. So okay, tiny bit up again on here. Okay, that's good. Coming down, and then we're on. We're actually on just over 1 at this end. Okay, that's as good as we're going to get. This is, and it's good, but it is as good as we're going to get. There's no point chasing 1mm when you're going to get away with 1.1, 1.2 is the lowest we can do on this. So let's put these bits away. The next bit is going to be the enjoyable reprofiling game, for which we'll need the reprofiling tool. Oh, we need to take the strings off. Now, these are probably worth keeping as spares, or sacrificial strings I should say. Better say that in case people ever thought that I would do something as heinous as use them again, which I never would. Can't stand that. Always new, it's just I keep these for sacrificial purposes to use up whilst doing setups and things, which I don't mind them getting dirty, breaking, exactly like that. It's always the way. One breaks, so it's the toppy. Well, you know what, for that reason it can all go in the bin, because I can't be bothered to go looking for a spare top to fit this thing. Right, so I'm being careful not to adjust or make any adjustments to the action, because we've got it where we want it. These are going to go in the metal string recycling, not like strings get recycled exactly, but eventually it'll just be a pile of metal behind my paper, roughly, almost, mainly paper rubbish bin. So let's get this bit done. So after this it's going to be a fairly straightforward gallop to the hills, which is just as well because JT is going to be here at 10 AM tomorrow to collect, and that's going to be all 4 of his guitars going home, and the house is going to suddenly feel very empty for guitars. I'm going to have sent home 4 yesterday with you, and 4 are going tomorrow, so it's going to feel like there's nothing in the house to play, which isn't true. So I'm going with the jumbo fret thingy. And this is when you get to this stage, this is where you actually see how much fret metal is actually being taken off, because you see how fast I'm moving down here. You can see that that actually means very little metal came off in this leveling. Now I'm stopping at this one to do a little bit more, so that took a bit more metal. That one's okay. A little bit on this edge here. Okay, so yeah, relatively little. And that's the beauty of working with 400 grit paper. You can work it a bit, and not a lot comes off. So you're not going to do too much damage. And certainly if you're doing this, if you're new to this, then you're going to start with 400 grit, or even 600 if you're nervous. Go with a, you know, when you think about it, if you start with a 600, you're doing very little in the way of removing metal. And who cares if it takes you another 5 minutes to get to where you want to get to, if it slows the process down by 3 times, or to a third, just, you know, the speed down to a third of what it was, because you'll be very confident that you're making a good job of it. Now I'm going to make some noise here, the last bit of major noise. So here I'm just taking off the excess material on the nut. It's quite difficult to do when it sticks out of the edge, actually. But actually I've found in the past that it's easier to do it, believe it or not, with a spinning thing. Actually you can go a smaller one, but it's easier to do it with a Dremel. It's safer to do it with a Dremel than it is to, believe it or not, do it with a file, which in a sense would seem a lot more controllable and of course a lot slower. But actually the file is far less easy to direct than this is. So when I have this, I can put my arm on here and I can control it. And get very close to the place you want to get to. Without hardly touching anything. And if you want to do it under a bright light, which you won't be able to see very well because I'm keeping myself in the picture, I can do it with this. Perfect. So it's very precise if you're careful. Okay, and if I had time, which I'm not sure I do have today, but if I had time, I might even have put well, maybe I can still put a little tiny blob of what's that stuff? Lacquer on there. I'm just a bit concerned or nervous that it wouldn't be fully dry tomorrow, and I don't want this guitar going out with a bit of squidgy nitro, brush on nitro on it. And just looking for a little file which I use for, here it is, cleaning frets, slots, and it's actually also quite good for finishing off things like this because it's controllable. So I'm just taking off any sharp edges really. Okay, and then just one last bit just to round off the edges. And let me just check it under the bright lights one more time. Nice. There we go. So that's all the difficult stuff done. And actually, because of the time and everything, I'm going to call this video to a halt. Mainly because I've got to actually get on reasonable haste. Not haste. Just a little quicker. And I need not to be talking at the camera. But there we are. We've got the nut, the action set perfectly, frets leveled, reprofiled. All I'm going to do now is what you've seen done before, which is the mask off the whole neck. I might have to cut some other kinds of masking tape up because this stuff is, I think I'm just about run out of the good stuff. But I'm going to mask it all off, and this is I'm going to use something else. I don't like this stuff. Mask it all off and polish it all out with my combination of different grades of paper. So it'll take a bit of cutting and working on the cutting board with this, and then I just check the intonation at the end, which I'm pretty sure will be spot on. So there we have it, the Fender FMT, just given a little extra tweak up with its new bridge saddles actually, which have replaced the original Fender ones, and I think JT's happy with those, so long may they stay on there. Alright, thanks for watching. There's a whole bunch of these videos will go up soon. I never say anything about selling things, so if you're interested in how to do this or doing this yourself, then you might consider buying my ebook, 165 pages in full glorious colour. Shows you how to do every stage of this setup for electric and acoustic guitars, including stuff I haven't shown you here with the polishing and all the rest of it. Shows you all of those stages in gruesome detail. And there's an exclusive video link in the ebook that takes you direct to a video of every single stage that's photographed and shown in the book. And so I videoed it at the same time, as you'll see me stopping and taking photographs while I'm doing the video. But it's all in full time, no cuts, so you'll see exactly what I'm doing and how. And the beauty of it all is that it shows you how to make and use the amusingly legendary now banana tool, this truss rod fret leveling file. Of course it's easy to make, that won't take you 5 seconds, and I only put it in the book just in case you've never heard of it before. But the real skill is learning how to use it and how to feel what it's doing and how to read the signs it's giving you. But it's actually very simple and very elegant, and you should be able to get a good result from the first go if you're careful and you keep the grit on here low to 400 or 600 if you're really cautious. And within a short amount of time you should build up some confidence and feel really confident using this. And that costs nothing virtually, or £3 or £4 for the truss rod, a little bit of self-adhesive tape and some wet and dry paper. And so the ebook will show you how to do all of that using tools that cost virtually nothing, including how to use this tool to do all of your nut slots, and a couple of little tricks to ensure perfect intonation and perfect first fret action using just that little cheap tool. Anyway, so you can do that, or if you like, you're welcome to contact me through Facebook to the Relove Guitars Facebook page, or via the email address connected to my YouTube, and please feel free to drop me a line. Most of my setup work is done by courier. JT is a rare example of a customer who's also a friend now, who comes down from quite some distance to bring his guitars down. But most people send them by courier, so it's very safe, and I have a whole set of resources and notes and how-to videos to help you pack them correctly, because contrary to what you'll hear in a lot of forums, it's all down to the packaging, and if you still don't really want to believe that, you just have to look at my numbers. I've probably sent close to 400 guitars now using Parcel Force, for example, and I have 100% no damage, no loss. Now that means, yes, Parcel Force are fairly good, but you read any of the forums, they're terrible. but they're at least capable of carrying something and not losing it the vast majority of the time, including in my case 100% of the time. But the real secret that makes sure that I don't appear on the forums complaining about parcel force breaking things is the way I package them, and I'll show you how to do that if you're interested in sending a guitar down to have me set it up for you. Okay, so that's it for now. JT, thanks for your trust in me with all your guitars. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and I'll get these videos up shortly.